Last week we covered several proofs of God, but curly head, today has some proof that Jesus is real. I'm going to do it in 60 seconds, so let's see what she's got.
Proof Jesus is real. His robe.
Okay, proof Jesus is real. Bam, his robe. Okay, let's see. I've never actually seen that before, but all it took was a couple of seconds of looking at the internet here, and I was able to reverse image search that picture. If you are unfamiliar with Google image search, look it up. It's a thing you can upload a video to Google, and it will find pictures that are similar or the exact same picture, and you can figure out where it came from and what the source is and what the deal is. It's also a good way to catch people who are catfishing you, but that's a whole different topic. Well, it's Jesus evidence catfish, I guess. This is a robe of Jesus. All right, so this is a current alien artifact in, forget which church it is over in Europe, but it was called the Holy Robe. It is a piece of cloth that is apparently, allegedly, in a single piece, which lines up with what the Gospel of John narrative. Now, the thing about this artifact, while it is a woven piece of cloth, no one has done any carbon dating on this. No one has done any aging on this because it's been tied up in the Catholic Church possession for all these years. Now, the trouble with it is it emerged on the scene in the 1500s. So for 1500 years, no one knew about this thing. And then someone in the Catholic police said, hey, look, it's a dirty piece of cloth. Obviously, the Jesus is real. And then there was a legend that went with it that, according to the legend, so Constantine's mother, Helena, apparently discovered this robe when her son sent her off to look for holy relics and for holy landmarks, that she discovered this piece and that she had just secreted it away to Rome, I guess, and no one knew where it was. And suddenly she gave it to the High Cathedral St. Peter in Trier, which was a town that Constantine had lived in. So there's at least a piece of connection. Anyway, if this alleged piece of artifact, and there's, again, the story doesn't go back to all the way to Jesus, it just goes back to 300 AD. So 300 years after Jesus died is where even the story begins. So proof that Jesus existed? No, this is a piece of cloth. So anyway, let's see what else she's got.
His Bible.
Jesus's Bible. Jesus had a Bible? I don't even really need to go to the research for this, but like in the first century, there weren't Bibles. Jesus would have, of course, not had the New Testament because it didn't exist yet. The Old Testament was only in scrolls. There was a Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. Jesus probably wouldn't have had that. That was more available. We don't know that Jesus spoke Greek. It seems he spoke Aramaic, unless you're just thinking that Jesus spoke all languages, spoke English as well. If we've time traveled, that's a whole separate thing. But there weren't books. That's the point. The bound books that was on screen there for a moment didn't exist. Anyway, all it took is, again, a quick image search. Turkish media outlets show that there was a 1,500-year-old Bible that was found. Turkey. Jesus wasn't in Turkey. It was written in Syriac, not written in Greek or Aramaic, or Hebrew, I guess, the originals. And no one's been able to study this. I'm always suspicious when no scholars have been allowed to study an artifact. But apparently, it may contain the Gospel of Barnabas. So if you're saying that the Gospel of Barnabas was written so early that Jesus had a copy, then yeah, I'm just doubting the veracity here of this exact nature of your evidence. Let's see what else you got. You got his robe, no. Bible, no.
His sandals.
His sandals. We have Jesus's sandals. No, what we have is a postcard from the Masada gift shop. Now, those of you who don't know, Masada was a fortress outside of Jerusalem, and it famously, around 72 AD, somewhere in there, there was a standoff between a number of Jews and Roman officials, and basically, in the end, everyone in Masada committed suicide. It's not a great story. It can be considered a heroic story. Regardless, it's unlikely that Jesus left a pair of sandals in this fortress outside of Jerusalem. There's no way that anyone could know that these were his, even if Jesus accidentally left a pair there. There's no record that he went to Masada. The last people were there were 40 years after Jesus died. Yeah, no, these are just sandals from roughly the same century. So cool, but no. Okay.
His nails.
Oh, on the comments of the video, a lot of people were very disturbed. People were wondering if that was indeed his fingernails. Were those Jesus's fingernails? No, those are not meant to be fingernails. As bad as that would be. No, what those are supposed to be are crucifixion nails. Now, this came from a documentary. I've covered this on my main channel before because people have made the same vague thing. In Tel Aviv, they found again, some ossuaries that had these nails in them. And they say that some of the residue is consistent with bone calcium. Maybe not. Again, not really well studied by scholars. But the thing is, these are just random nails. We also know that crucifixion nails were considered to have some kind of mysterious qualities that people wanted to be buried with crucifixion nails. It was good luck, so they were scattered abroad. There's nothing pointing these to Jesus other than that they were crucifixion nails. Be that as it may, it's just like the sandals. It's like, well, I guess I can't prove that they're not, but there's no reason to think they are. So, right? I'm not convinced by the nails, nor is anyone else.
His crown of thorns.
Crown of thorns. Sadly, I was vaguely aware of this one. So those who are familiar with Notre Dame, the cathedral in Paris, he had a fire. Well, relatively recently had a fire. Had all kinds of Catholic relics that are allegedly belong to Jesus. One of them is this glass encasement of this bit of thorny plant vegetation twined in a circle. There's a better view of it. So apparently there's not a lot of thorns on it because over the years the Catholic Church had been like clipping off thorns and giving them to people as gifts and things. Once again, the first claim that the Catholic Church even had this was in the 500s, so 500 AD, but it's not necessarily tied to this artifact. It's just a vague claim that they had it. And then we yada, yada, yada up to Louis IX, King of France, in 1238, who was gifted this thing from someone. They said, hey, here's as a show of solidarity or to stop a war. I don't know exactly the details, but he was given this gift of this alleged crown of thorns. Again, could emerge in the 1200s, so count me skeptical. I'm just not going to call that really proof that Jesus existed. I'm not even doubting that Jesus existed. Just that these things are just things that people said that he owned hundreds of thousands of years later. You'd have to establish some kind of chain of evidence to show that they belonged to it. Could even show that these things belong to the same person. That'd be something. No, you got nothing. You got a couple of artifacts that are claimed to be possibly Jesus's, and then some artifacts that are definitely not. So just like last week, the TikTokers did not end up proving God. Even though I do believe Jesus existed as a person, I don't think that anything you presented today is evidence of the stories of the Bible or even the veracity of him as a historical figure. So, sorry. What do you think? Did any of these artifacts impress you? Am I missing part of the story? Why some of these are proofs? Let me know in the comments.